What's good, everyone? It's Nigel here, Black Sex Apparel. So today was shoulder day, and before I go on, guys, I want to say I'm not sure I'm going to continue doing these videos. Unfortunately, the traction and the views I'm getting is going in the opposite direction. My last video, if you have a look at it, you probably see how many views I got. It's about 15 views. That's just appalling, and it's just a waste of my time. So I'm not sure I'm going to continue doing these videos, but in any case, today was shoulder day, and I started off warming up. Of course, as I always say, make sure you warm up sufficiently. You're no use to anyone injured, especially yourself. I've started training at a fairly newish gym, a fairly newish pure gym, as of recently as well. So the equipment in there is really new, smells fresh. And the gym, actually, they got some decent equipment in there for a pure gym. For those of you who are familiar with pure gyms in the UK, they're a very basic corporate type, gym, not a proper bodybuilder's gym, but this one's decent, So yeah, I'm gonna try and make use of this until the next venture, of course. So I started off doing shoulder press here, 40 kgs, it's 10 reps. Felt quite comfortable actually. It went up quite comfortable. So yeah, that's when generally your first lift in the gym, you generally know how your day is going to go. Is for me anyway. I sort of know how it's going to go for me by the first lift. So yeah, I felt okay with 40s, felt fairly comfortable. So I then moved up to 42s for the same, and that felt comfortable as well for 10 reps. So yeah, you guys, I stick to one thing I would say, guys, is I stick to what works. I stick to what I believe works for me. There's many ways to skin a cat, of course, and I'm giving you the basics that works for me. So if you try this and you find it works for you, then yes, great. This is what it's all about, sharing experiences and finding something that works for you. So you may see me doing the same thing over and over again. That's because I'm doing what works. So yeah, this was set number 3, moved up to 44 kgs, and it felt a little bit heavier now because the rest period was very short. That's one thing I always say, guys. I keep my rest period short in the gym. I'm not someone who does a set and then goes on my phone for 5 minutes and do this and that. The only thing that takes my time is filming the sets, so setting up the cameras sometimes, and that gets in the way. But if I don't set up the camera, I couldn't bring you this content, right? So it's a small sacrifice, I suppose, for what I'm trying to push here, which may not go on for much longer, unfortunately. But anyway, I moved on to 46 kgs here. So this was set number 4, I believe. I did 5 sets in total, I think, but this was set number 4, and I got to 46 and realized, yeah, this is hitting my peak here. So yeah, I didn't go up anymore. The idea was to go up to 48 kgs today, but I didn't get to 48. As you can see, I only got 9 reps here on 46 kilos. So then I bought back the Arnie press. I started my next set. My next sets were Arnie presses. So again, a mainstay in my shoulder day. For those of you who are familiar with my shoulder days, this is something I'm a huge advocate for. This is a great exercise because, as you can see, you may see it from a different angle in a minute, but bringing the weight around to the front hits your front delts. So you can see I'm deliberately slowing the movement down, right? So yeah, just as I bring it around to the front delts and back up again. This is very difficult. I'm using 30 kgs here. Here you could probably see it's a slightly better angle. With 30 kgs, this feels really heavy, especially after having done those shoulder presses that I did to start off. So this is a great exercise for an all-round shoulder, all-round shoulder development. Front delts, side traps, side delts. So yeah, it's a great all-round exercise for your shoulder development. It's a compound exercise, I would call it, for sure. Similar to a shoulder press. Obviously, you would not be able to press the same weight as you do on doing shoulder press. I can't, certainly, because there's more movement to this movement. You're bringing the weight all the way around to the front and up again. So it's a heavier, or it feels heavier when you do this particular exercise. So yeah, the Arnie press, add that to your session. If you haven't, or you don't do that already. Like I always say to you guys, I always do 4 sets minimum of every exercise. So Obviously, the video's edited down so I could get through this for you guys to see what I'm doing. But always be reminded, every exercise you see me do is always a minimum of 4 sets. Generally between a minimum of 8 reps as well. Minimum of 8 reps. Though I very rarely do 8 reps. I always have that target in my head. So if I get to 8 reps, I know I've got to my goal, my target number, and then the rest is a bonus. Especially if I'm struggling in the latter stages of my session where the fatigue starts kicking in. I always aim to get a minimum of 8 reps, but it's generally between 10 and 15 reps I aim for. Then I moved on to dumbbell flies. Again, 4 sets of I believe it was 10 or 15 or 12 reps I did here. I've lost count now. But yeah, and I supersetted this with front delt raises, as you can see here. This is a great combination to do. The weight isn't particularly heavy. I believe it's only 14 or 16. What was it? Can't remember. I think might have been 14 kgs I was using here. So it's not a particularly heavy weight. I don't think you necessarily need to go that heavy anyway. Train on feel, and if you're feeling a muscle really working with this exercise, then yeah, keep the weight at a relatively heavy but not too heavy. I don't think it's an exercise that you need to go overly heavy on to feel the burn and to develop some great delts and side delts and traps. So yeah, it's nothing really to explain here, really. I mean, this is a very common exercise. Most people probably do it on shoulder day. So yeah, it's a common exercise because it's a good exercise. It's one that works. You probably don't see a lot of people supersetting it with front delt raises, but yeah, I do, and it really does work. So you could do this standing up or sitting down. I thought it's going to be a little bit more difficult doing it sitting down because you haven't got your legs and back to really help you with the pushing or doing the weight, right? So sometimes you'd find when you're standing, you could use your leg to propel the weight upwards, and obviously sitting down, you're unable to do that. So there's a bit more isolation going on when you do seated dumbbell flies as opposed to standing dumbbell flies. And that's the same for doing shoulder presses as well, right? So you could do seated shoulder presses like I did earlier using a dumbbell or the barbell, or you could do it standing. Now, if you do it standing, the likelihood of you, depending on the weight you're using, but the likelihood of you bringing your legs into the movement is quite high. So that's why for me, seated is preferred, though I also do it standing as well, just for variation. But yeah, seated you should find it's slightly more difficult than doing it standing. And then I moved on to the Smith machine here to do some press. And look and if you notice, I'm doing it reversed, right? So this goes back to what I said, exactly what I said a few minutes ago or a few seconds ago about the shoulder press, the barbell shoulder press. Now obviously I'm using a Smith machine here, so it's more focused on the shoulders, right? As opposed to using free weights where you could be unstable and you're trying to push the weight up and you're bringing your back and legs into it. Doing it seated means that you can't bring your leg into this movement. So the weight's obviously going to feel heavier, and of course it's going to be slightly more isolated on the shoulders and trap. I've done it reversed here as well for that reason, because I'm trying to replicate the standing movement here by doing it reversed. If I had done it the conventional way with my back against the bench and pressing upwards like I was doing at the start of the session using the dumbbells, then I'm not, how do I explain this? I'm taking my back out of the movement, right? When I do a seated press the other way around, the conventional way. By doing it this way, I'm sort of it's harder. You're going to find it harder doing it that way, right? So it's similar to standing and doing a press, It's similar to standing doing a press, where you don't have that back support when you stand, of course. So when you sit down and do it the reverse way, it's similar to standing but sitting down, if that makes any sense. I'm kind of butchering the explanation here a bit, but I hope that makes sense. But give it a try anyway and see how it feels for you. Try and keep the weight light, because obviously you're going to put a lot of pressure on your lower back when doing it that way. You don't see many people doing it the reverse way. You think, what's the point in sitting on a bench if you're not going to use the bench as a backrest to push the weight up? But I find doing it the reverse way, it's a lot harder. And yes, so give it a try and let me know how you feel or how you got on with it. And then, of course, I moved on to tricep extension to finish off the session here. Again, I did about 4 sets standing like this, and then I went on to do 4 sets overhead. You'd see that coming up in a minute. But yeah, today was essentially a shoulder and tricep session. I know I've said to you in the past that I generally do chest and triceps, but sometimes I mix things up. You know, sometimes I do chest and biceps, sometimes I do shoulders and triceps. You know, so don't be shy to mix things up and see what works for you. You know, and it's all beneficial. There is no bad session. As long as you're in the gym doing the work, there is no bad session. So yes, I then went on to do 4 sets of these as well, overhead, and that was it really. I didn't have much time. I had to leave the gym fairly early because I had stuff to do. So yeah, that was pretty much the end of the session. I finished off on some pull-ups at the end. Actually, I did 4 sets of pull-ups, as I always do on shoulders and back day. I finish my session on pull-ups. That's something I've always done. So you know, no real reason as to why. I suppose it's benefited me over the years. And obviously, at the end of a session, you can't do as many body weight exercises as you would do at the start of a session. So you're really fatigued, and that's a real way to test to see how good the session was, I suppose, by seeing how fatigued you are at the end and how many pull-ups you could do at the end of a session compared to how many you could do at the start of a session. And that's a good indication. If you could do the same amount at the end of the session as you can do at the start of a session, then you probably haven't worked hard enough. It's a good indicator. And this is my off-season condition. There you go. You guys see this all the time. And that was it, guys. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for all the love. And I hopefully see you guys next time. If not, much love. Take care. Peace.